Ever wonder why some people seem to have a knack for managing their money while others struggle to keep their finances afloat? It's a question that often lingers in the back of our minds, isn't it? Well, today, we're going to peel back the layers of that question. We're going to delve into the murky waters of financial mistakes, those common pitfalls that ensnare so many of us. Why? Because understanding these blunders is the first step towards securing a more stable financial future. First off, let's acknowledge this. Making financial mistakes is part of being human. It's not a question of intelligence or willpower, it's about being armed with the right knowledge, and that's what we're here to provide. We're not just talking about dry textbook knowledge, but real-life stories from people who've been there, done that, and come out the other side. Over the next few minutes, we're going to share stories of individuals who've stumbled and fallen into these common financial traps. But more importantly, we're going to explore how they climbed out of these pitfalls and what we can learn from their experiences. We'll uncover the hidden dangers of living beyond your means, the perils of ignoring debt, and the risk of not saving for retirement. Each of these topics is a common financial pitfall, a trap that's easy to fall into if you're not on your guard. But don't worry, this isn't a doom and gloom story. Far from it. It's a story of empowerment, of understanding, of arming yourself with the knowledge to make better financial decisions. Because once you understand these common pitfalls, you're already well on your way to avoiding them. So buckle up, prepare to take some mental notes, and let's get ready to dive deep. Let's dive into the financial blunders that people often make and see what we can learn from their experiences. Meet John, a young professional who loves to live in the moment, often at the cost of his future. Imagine John's life. He's always the life of the party, a real go-getter. His days are filled with the latest gadgets, gourmet meals, and flashy cars. But there's a twist. Every swipe of his credit card, every unplanned shopping spree, every extravagant night out isn't backed by his income. In fact, it's quite the opposite. John is living beyond his means, and this lifestyle is digging him into a hole of debt and financial instability. Now you might wonder, what's the harm in a little fun? Well, that's where the story takes a turn. John's penchant for overspending has led him down a dangerous path. With no budget or financial plan to guide him, his spending continues unchecked, the numbers on his credit card bills keep rising, and his savings account remains empty. It's like a ticking time bomb, set to explode when he least expects it. And when it does, the fallout is catastrophic. His debt grows to a point where he can't keep up with the payments. The interest piles up, his credit score plummets, and the financial stability he once took for granted crumbles. It's not just about the money either. Living beyond his means leads to a constant state of stress and worry for John. He's always on edge, wondering how he'll pay his next bill or whether his credit card will be declined. The mental toll is just as heavy as the financial one, but the hardest part? The realization that he could have avoided this. If only he had set a budget, lived within his means, and planned for his future. If only he had resisted the urge for immediate gratification and thought about the long-term consequences. But that's the thing about financial mistakes. They're easy to make but hard to undo. John's story shows us the dangers of living beyond our means. It's a hard lesson, but a necessary one. Now let's turn to Sarah, a single mother who's trying to balance her financial responsibilities while dealing with mounting debt. Sarah's story is all too familiar. She's like many others, hoping that if she turns a blind eye to the bills stacking up in the corner, they might somehow disappear. But as we know, debt doesn't work that way. Sarah's struggle began with a few credit card bills that seemed manageable at first, but soon, late fees and interest charges started to pile up, turning what was once a molehill into a mountain. The more she tried to ignore it, the more impossible it seemed to overcome. It's a grim reality that ignoring debt doesn't make it vanish into thin air. On the contrary, it's like a snowball rolling down a hill, growing larger and faster with each passing second. And Sarah was standing right in its path. But here's the thing. Debt, while daunting, is not an unbeatable foe. It requires a plan, a strategy, and most importantly, a willingness to face it head-on. When Sarah finally decided to confront her debt, she was overwhelmed. But she didn't have to face it alone. She sought help from a credit counseling agency, a nonprofit organization that offers free services to individuals struggling with debt. With their help, Sarah was able to establish a debt management plan. This plan allowed her to consolidate her debts into one monthly payment with a reduced interest rate, making it more manageable. It wasn't an immediate fix, but it was a step in the right direction. This is a crucial lesson for us all. Ignoring debt does not make it go away, it only makes it worse. But facing it, understanding it, and tackling it with a strategy can turn the tide in your favor. Sarah's story is a sobering reminder that ignoring debt does not make it disappear. Instead, it often compounds the problem. And remember, you don't have to face it alone. Seek help if you need it, because only by addressing debt head-on can we hope to overcome it. Last but not least, let's look at the story of Robert, a middle-aged man who neglected to save for his retirement. Meet Robert. He had a good life. He worked hard, earned a decent paycheck, and always lived in the moment. The idea of retirement was a distant thought, something he assumed he'd figure out when the time came. But time, as it often does, flew by quicker than he expected. Now, in his golden years, Robert is facing the harsh reality of his lack of foresight. Without any significant retirement savings, he's struggling to make ends meet. He's grappling with mounting medical bills, and the basic cost of living is becoming a challenge. The comfort and security he once took for granted are now distant memories replaced by uncertainty and stress. Robert's story is not unique. Many find themselves in similar situations due to a lack of planning and saving for retirement. It's easy to push the thought of retirement to the back of your mind, especially when you're young and it seems so far away, but the reality is, it's never too early to start planning for your future. Starting your retirement savings early can make a significant difference. Even small amounts, when saved consistently over a long period, can accumulate into a substantial nest egg due to the power of compound interest. It's not just about stashing away money, but about giving your money time to grow. Consider this: if you start saving modestly at 25, compared to starting at 45, you could potentially have twice as much saved by the time you reach 65. That's the difference between a retirement filled with financial struggle and one where you can live comfortably and enjoy your golden years. Ignoring the need for retirement savings is a high-risk gamble, one that can leave you, like Robert, struggling in your later years. It's not a bet worth taking. Robert's story underscores the importance of saving for retirement. It's never too early to start planning for your future. We've seen how financial missteps can lead to serious consequences. But what can we learn from these stories? Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered so far. We've explored a range of common financial pitfalls and the devastating impact they can have on our lives. Each story has provided us with a valuable lesson, a roadmap if you will, to better financial decision-making. Firstly, we've learned about the high cost of living beyond our means. It's a slippery slope that can lead us to a mountain of debt, stress, and financial insecurity. The lesson here is clear. Live within your means. It's about being mindful of our spending habits, creating a budget, and sticking to it. It's not about depriving ourselves, but about making informed choices and prioritizing our financial health. Next, we turned our attention to the perils of ignoring debt. Debt is not just a financial burden, it's a ticking time bomb that can explode at any moment, wreaking havoc on our lives. The lesson? Address your debt head-on. Don't ignore it. Seek help if necessary. Create a plan to pay down your debt and, most importantly, stick to it. It may seem daunting at first, but remember, every journey begins with a single step. Finally, we delved into the risk of not saving for retirement. It's easy to put off planning for our golden years, especially when they seem so far away. But the truth is, the earlier we start saving, the better off we'll be. The lesson here is straightforward. Start saving for retirement now. It's not about how much you save, but rather, how soon you start. So, armed with these lessons, let's make a commitment to ourselves. Let's promise to live within our means, to face our debts courageously, and to start saving for our future today. Remember, it's never too late to start making better financial decisions. Let's take these lessons to heart and avoid these common money mistakes.